Men who have seen a woman give birth, what was your thought process? Was with my wife for the birth of my daughter who is now 4. Some things stick out as being odd thoughts at the time. When my daughter's head came out, she turned her head and opened her eyes and looked right at me and was staring at me whilst the rest of the body came out. Was a weird thought as this was the first time I'd seen something come out that big. My wife hemorrhaged pretty bad after giving birth, and shortly after my daughter was taken away by the midwife she lost about 3 pints of blood. This literally all came out in one whoosh and made me think, frick, this giving birth thing is messy as heck. Because of the blood loss they called a doctor to come in and stitch up down there, and I remember them counting from 1 to 10 lots, so asked them what they were doing. Apparently the doctor was counting the cotton wool balls. Probably have a medical term for these, but this is what they looked like, that he was putting inside the body to stop the flow of blood, and the midwife was counting them when he took them out again. I asked if there was any incidents where they lost any of the balls and couldn't find them, such as my sense of humor, and apparently it happens quite a lot and they have to do another procedure a couple of days later to get them all out. The strangest thing for me though was parking in the hospital car park before taking my wife in. This was the last time in my life that there would be just the 2 of us in our family. The last time we didn't consider others before doing things for ourselves. The last time we only had to worry about ourselves. There really have been times when doctors have left swabs and cotton in women, post-birth, that have gone septic. It's very, very bad and can lead to death. I can honestly say that after giving birth you just don't feel anything down there for a while except a bundle of pain. It's dreadful, but you forget because baby brain. Holy crap, it's really happening. Everyone in here is sweating way more than they talked about in birthing class. That nurse over there is literally dripping onto the floor. Man, I'm sleepy. Why is it so hot? WTF is that white webbing on the baby's head? Holy crap. That's a baby's face blowing out my wife's business. Man, it's hot. Have I been breathing? Did someone just shut off the lights? Doing good, honey. Slap me around if you need to. It took a very firm tongue bite to keep from blacking out about there. They made my husband sign a waiver saying that they weren't responsible if he passes out and injures himself on the way down. Funny that it happened so much that hospitals make you sign waivers for it now. I saw my wife give birth to our daughter 3 months ago today. Her delivery was considered basically flawless with 0 complications or serious issues. And still the thing that got me was the blood in the mess and the stench of it all. Just totally random things stick in my brain today, such as blood spatter a few feet away from the bed. How'd it shoot so far? Or the placenta sitting in a kidney-shaped stainless steel dish like some sort of alien organism. No, we didn't take it home. My wife remembers pretty much none of it at all and is already talking about how much fun it would be to have a second baby. She's been totally brainwashed by her mommy hormones. And of course this is how the world's population continues to increase. Came here to say, right after my son popped out, I watched the nurse go clean him off, and then I glanced back just in time to see the placenta tumble out. It was the most hideous looking thing I'll ever see. The placenta, not my son. Amazeballs. She is way tougher than me. My wife was slow to dilate, so they withheld meds until she got a little further along. She went from 3 to 10 in 30 minutes. Too late, so she is in for a natural birth with no pain relief. Genuinely, I was awed by her toughness and grit. We are divorced today and this was 20 years ago. None of that diminishes my respect for her. That was a really nice way to speak of your old spouse. Very refreshing. At first it was sympathy for what she was going through and excitement for the baby to come. That became amazement at the amount of poop that comes out. Then astonishment at how much a baby head sticking out looks like a little purple gorilla. Not a man, just an unfortunate daughter whose mother had her in the delivery room as a form of birth control. It worked. Saw my wife give birth to our daughter 3 years ago. My main thought was just to support my wife. She was the one going through it, I was just an observer. For the most part, everything went well. Once the epidural was in, my wife was relaxed and was able to rest. She wasn't comfortable, but she also wasn't in pain. I was pretty calm and tried to get her whatever she needed and play cheerleader. The only moment I panicked was the 5 last minutes. The doctor asked me if I wanted to see the baby come out. Pro tip, say no. So I headed to the bottom of the bed and checked out the landscape. Now I've been down there plenty of times before if you know what I mean, but this was not the vag I had fallen in love with. It was angry. Very very angry. Then the baby started coming out. For your information, babies coming out don't look anything like a baby. Honestly, it was coming head first. Normal, but that did not look like a head. It looked like a purple hairy elbow. So yeah, I panicked a bit. 25 hours without sleep. In my defense, I tried to keep up a brave front for my wife and not alert her to the demon spawn coming out her lady parts, so I was yelling stuff like it looks beautiful. So beautiful, but I was also shooting looks at the doctor trying to figure out when he was going to break the news to her. This of course makes the doctor give me some odd looks back, which only adds to my panic. Baby comes out. Doctor turns to me, pretty sure he was about to ask me to cut the cord. Takes one look at my face, cuts the cord himself and hands the baby to my wife. Beautiful. Only to me I suppose. Newborn babies are sorta lumpy and covered in all sorts of goo. Perfect little baby girl. So yeah, 25 hours of awesome supportive husband, 5 minutes of sheer panic and 3.5 years of awesome parenting since. Overall, I think I'm doing okay. Well, that's not gonna fit. No way is that going to fit. Yep, see, it's not fitting. It's not gonna. Holy crap, mother of god, crap on my father's balls. It's a girl. I saw it as part of clinical training. It was beautiful. It's like, you know where babies come from. You know that a pregnant woman is carrying a person inside of her. But the moment you see this human being, it's like something clicks in your head. I almost cried. This tiny little human was living and growing inside this woman. And it's breathing and crying and moving now outside of her. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. I have been present at multiple births and completely understood why people said it was beautiful. I actually want to go back to school to become a midwife. That being said, when I watched the video of my daughter being born, I threw up and almost passed out. Seeing your own vag look like that is disturbing as frick. My husband and I saw his sister-in-law give birth. We are gay men and turned much more gay after that nightmare. I'm straight and I saw a childbirth video once and it made me like at least 10% gayer. Medical student here, my number one thought: don't drop the baby. Saw my wife give birth to our son almost a year ago. Being in the medical field currently and an EMT in the past, it didn't really have much effect. That is until you see the little dude's head and then they tell her to stop pushing, so the baby is stuck in a vag head trap. That was a little terrifying. Nothing about it bothered me at all. I mean, they induced, so my poor wife was having hard contractions for 20 hours, back to back. We were alone a lot between times they kept checking dilation. A nurse brought my wife food that was included in the stay, but my wife wasn't of course allowed to eat. The nurse used vague language to help us understand it was for me. Wife didn't mind, but I wolfed it down in the hall anyway. Delivery is messy, I guess, but seriously, you aren't gonna be any kind of dad if you can't handle messy. Diapers and puke and boogers are part of the landscape. Delivery was as easy as watching your loved one hurt can be, but exciting. 2. I cut the cord for both my kids. I'm glad I could symbolically participate in that way. Normal thoughts until the smell. It reminded me of gutting a moose. Not in a bad way, it just smelled like insides. Firstborn was 3 months after moose hunting season, which I had gotten my first. It's horrifying. It's a thing you really must do to show support to your partner and all, but whatever you do, do not cut the cord. It's like trying to hack through a blood-filled climbing rope. I cut the cord. I wasn't grossed out or anything, but the significance is overrated. I was laser focused on making my wife comfortable and helping with the process. I can't describe what was going through my mind when they finally pulled my daughter out. Just a flood of happy chemicals. Sheer bliss. I saw my wife delivering my 2 babies. Let me tell you, it was very traumatizing for me, seeing all the blood in her vag open like a dragon about to eat me. But the worst thing is to see your child coming out of her. They look dead with a lot of blood without breathing. After he was out, suddenly looks alive and he is crying. At this moment I passed out. The same thing happened with the second kid. Photographer here. I love capturing images of childbirth. Everybody is too dang busy birthing a baby to be concerned about posing, so you get to capture some really raw emotions and moments. It doesn't get old, watching parents bond with this new little one. I love the messiness of it all. One of my favorite memories was getting to be in the room for a surrogate birth. The baby came early and the parents wouldn't make it to the hospital for the next morning. I had the privilege of photographing the birth for them and sending one of the images as an introduction to their son. The next morning I met them in the hospital and took photos when they got to meet him face to face. Amazing time. The harder part is that I also volunteer for an agency that provides professional photographers to take legacy portraits when a child doesn't survive. These stories cut deep and I shed tears every time I get one of these calls. I feel it is the price I have to pay though for being present for the miracle of birth in the other instances. After seeing my wife give birth, I had a new understanding of all the times in history class hearing about some woman dying in childbirth. Blood, guts, and glory. I was there for her and think that is the real reason to be there. I can't say I have been any more bonded with my child than if I had been in the waiting room. My wife though, I was there and was able to help her get through the most intense experience of her life. Really my part was nothing more than cheering from the sidelines. The work was done all by others, but I think having the presence of a loved one helps the mother. I did cut the cord more because the doc just made it so. Put the scissors in my hand, put the cord in the scissors and told me to squeeze, so really didn't have a choice. Wasn't too keen on doing so myself. It is an odd experience. Having been a hospital patient plenty of times, let me tell you that having someone there to look after you the person instead of you the patient is indescribably helpful. My ex-wife attempted to go natural and then we had to go C-section midway through as we later found out my son's arm was raised over his head, obstructing his path out of the womb. I would recommend not being distracted by the significance of the events, the real-time graphic images, or the other people in the room. Our doctor was very hesitant to do the C-section. The doctor said he had been in the pathway too long and could be problematic yet still wasn't doing anything to solve it. She was either too calm or it was paralysis by analysis. I'm still not sure. Keep a level head, support your woman, and carefully listen to what the doctors are saying and that it adds up. I will never know whether our doctor was a dingus or had a reason to wait. I forced the C-section and I am happy I did it as my son is healthy as can be today. Nursing student. I saw lady's perineum tear apart so her vag and anus were one giant love hole. That happened to me during the birth of my son. His father described it as, your vag looked like predator's mouth. Blavergiger. He made a motion with his hands and a monster throwing up noise to demonstrate. 40 stitches later, I was fine. And luckily I had an epidural so I didn't feel any of it. Wow, okay, it's stretching why too much. Frick, it can go more. Christ, okay, I'm done, this shouldn't be possible. I bet Ridley Scott took notes when he saw this. Oh Jesus, it's as slippery as it looks. How do people not drop these things every time? Why do they think letting the father pull the baby out is a good idea? Hugh got it onto her belly. There's no way that was safe. Oh great, they gave me scissors. Don't cut his dong off. Don't cut his dong off. Okay, I cut the cord. Is he still a boy? Yes. My husband doesn't comment but I asked him and he shrugged and said, here she comes. He is a wonderfully simple man. I was there when my daughter was born over 34 years ago in 1982. The umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck and it took a little while for her to come out. When she was finally born my heart was beating out of my chest as I waited for her to cry because she was a little blue-gray looking thing. I'll never forget how I felt the first time I heard that cry. I don't remember being freaked out by the blood or placenta or anything like that, just real glad to finally hold my daughter. I watched all 3 of my kids being born. It's freaking awesome. I did not know about the placenta. WTF. I'll take things about birth they don't tell you about for 500. Alex. The mother of my godson. My thoughts were, woman, you're crushing my hand. I should have made you trim your fingernails. They are drawing blood. Whoa, you are doing so well. How is a 17-year-old going to be able to cope by herself? How is her body not splitting in half as this kid is huge? You are a truly amazing person. I'm going to track the father of this kid down and beat the crap out of him again. Keep squeezing my hand, honey. I think you've broken it anyway, but I'll cry and faint later. He's out. Sure, I'll cut the cord, although at the same time why are you smacking him around and where are you taking him? Seeing what just happened to your vajayjay is worse than watching my favorite pub burning down. I hope it gets better. He's back. He's healthy. He's amazing. And you're amazing. Holy frick 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 frick. You have been visited by the romantic doggo. Comment love is magic so you never fall in the friend zone. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.